during Corona, that became virtual aperitivo, virtual get together to make sure that we continue to enable people to meet, even though it would then be virtually and enable that through Pringles was something that we had a lot of fun with in a difficult time.
We are going across the pond, and not just like to the edges. We're going to the middle of Europe for today's conversation. We're joined by Miranda Prins. Miranda and I met, gosh, how long has it been? Was it 2 years ago, 18 months ago?
I think so. It was during COVID time.
And I will tell you that Miranda, and I mean this as a compliment, was very critical to make sure that I wasn't just a white man addressing all of Europe's leadership at Kellogg's, and as she should, right? And this is where I wish we had video, because behind her, she has Break the Bias as a sort of a screen grab behind her here. But I'm jumping way in already. Miranda, let's start with, I would have said good morning. You would have said good evening. Where are you? What time is it? Tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, Ryan. Very happy to be here, first of all, so thanks a lot for inviting me. My name is Miranda Prins. I am from the Netherlands. I am currently living in Switzerland, but that's after having lived in about 5 different other countries. And so I would now tell you actually good afternoon. It's 4 o'clock where I'm based. So the time difference is there, but it's also not that I'm already in a different day.
And give me your role at Kellogg's. What are you doing over there for them?
Today I'm the general manager for what we call Continental Europe. So that's 50% of the European business is my responsibility. It's 10 different markets. I'm responsible for about 600 people, and that's 30 different nationalities. So that also shows you why diversity is so important to me. I have a very diverse team, very lucky to have very diverse team. And I would also say in my region, we speak, I didn't count, let's say 6 different languages. And we have at least 30 different accents.
We have it so easy over here. It's like pretty much one language, sometimes 2 languages. And I should go back. The reason we had met, I was lucky enough to address your leadership. And it was during COVID time, and the world got really small and really big all at the same time. And the things like Zoom or Teams allowed me to sort of zip around the country and meet really talented, interesting people like you. So you're the general manager. You got this big region over there. But what I also love, Miranda, is you come from story, you come from marketing, and you've constantly taken that with you into the next job and the next job and the next job. But there's not really like a playbook for this stuff. Like, you're kind of going as the world changes. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Is this how you see it too?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it's a very good thing, first of all. I love it that way, because if there's a clear playbook, it means you can only go in a certain way. And to be honest, that's how a lot of companies are still operating, right? There's very clearly, you first have this role, you are a junior, let's say brand manager, then you become a brand manager, then the senior, then the marketing manager, then the director, etc., etc. And people drop off along the way. What I love about Kellogg's, and that's one of the reasons I've been there since 14 years, is that there are some career broader playbooks, but then it's really what you make of your career. And I fundamentally believe that. So as long as you are very open and you don't define your role too narrow, I really believe you can go a long way. When I started working, I was an assistant brand manager, but I always called myself in my head a mini general manager already, because I felt I'm responsible for this brand and I might be very junior. But in the end of the day, it's me who is the end responsible for this brand. So that means it's my responsibility that the logistics are right, that the sales is going in the right direction, that I understand the financials behind my brand. And of course, I also did the marketing part. But I think it's this type of mindsets that get you very fast and fits very well with the Courage Bootcamp or your courageous topic, Ryan, that I know is so close to your heart, because it is very scary to get out there all the time and go to different departments, go to different countries, step up, put yourself out of your comfort zone. But I think it is the reason to really learn and drive your career as well at the same time.
How do you think the marketing path helped you get to where you are or do what you do?
Yeah, I think two reasons. One is that when you are in marketing, you are really at the core of the organization. So it has always been easy for me to feel this mini general manager I was talking about already, because you are literally at the heart of all the different departments around you. You are often leading the multifunctional team. Even if people are not reporting to you at all, that is your job. So I think it really sets you up to work very close with finance, with supply chain, with sales, HR, seeing all those different departments in an organization. And at the same time, I think also often marketeers do have, particularly if they progress during careers, quite a strategic role to play. And when you have a good strategic role to play, it allows you to step back, look at the direction, set the direction for your company and your brand. And that also allows you in more senior positions afterwards.
So if there was a pie chart of your time today, what percent goes to like different components? What percent goes to still marketing? What percent goes to running a business? What goes to managing people? Maybe it's always managing people. Try to break it down for me.
Well, first of all, when I tell my mom what I do, I say I solve problems 99.9% of the day. The only time I'm not solving problems is when somebody comes back to me with a success, because usually when people come to me, there is something to solve or there's something to work through. So that's in a very big nutshell. When we look at different departments, I would say I hardly work in marketing anymore. My general manager function, being responsible for markets, means I focus on sales 70% of my time. Making sure that our products are available for our retailers, making sure we are on the shelf for our shoppers, making sure that we are very clear on our strategic directions with the team is very big component of my job. The other part I'm doing a lot is finances, because I always say my finance lead is my right hand, because that's a very important part of my job, is to make sure that our financials are solid so that we can continue to invest in our business. We are an A brand. At the end of the day, it's very important that we continue to invest. And so that's a lot of my time goes into as well. And then I would say the third element is HR. I see senior executive roles are roles that are really there to be close to the people in our organization, to really drive the diversity in our organization, to make sure that people feel they have a good place to belong. And to do that, you need to know the people behind your teams and in your organization. So I spent a lot of time on that as well.
You know, you already called me out on the courage thing, as you should. I got a courage boot camp backdrop here. And yeah, I think that courage, the interesting thing about it is that there's so many layers that it could live inside organizations. You know, sometimes it's courageous leadership, right? And like you said, 99.9% of your time, someone is coming to you saying, what do you think of this? Or are we doing this right? Or anything to add in this arena? There's also courageous reinvention, which I think is really, really difficult for companies to put the energy towards tomorrow. We're just overwhelmed in the realities of today and doing what needs to be done today, especially if you're a public company. But then, you know, coming out of the storytelling side, you know, I've always had a passion for courageous ideas. And to me, if you pull the Ryan Berman string, I'll say courageous ideas are the only ones that matter. And these ideas, they're funny because you can't exactly pinpoint in the creative process, like where they come from, predict when they're going to show up. But when they do, usually you know it when you see one. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I totally feel that way. On the big things that were not there before I started being part of a certain team and that now are there, that's the beauty when you've been with a company for a long time. You have quite a few of those. If you ask me who was the inventor of that idea, I couldn't tell. But that's, I think, is a great thing because I think the good, really great ideas come from multiple people, from multiple departments working together to create something that's truly end to end, so that works from all different angles. And I think the moment you see such an idea, usually you go, that's what we have to go after. You might not yet know how or what you're getting yourself into, but I do think you quite quickly see that's something I want to put my money on. It's something I want to put my time on, something I believe in. So I completely hear you.
I feel like in some of our past conversations, getting to know each other a little bit. What is she like? What's her point of view? We talked about gaming and how gaming has just sort of been this bullish idea that has blossomed. Can you talk a little bit about how you sort of been part of that journey and how it's going over there?
Yes, gaming is a great example. I was the vice president for Pringles in my previous role, and we were literally trying to reinvent ourselves, which we always did. Pringles is a phenomenally growing brand. It's doing super well in the market since many years. And I think when you have the responsibility of such a brand, it's your responsibility to find new growth drivers, to make sure that you continue the momentum and not to be complacent. It's a very big responsibility. So we were brainstorming, and one of my team members was talking about her housemate and how he always was gaming and how he was living and breathing gaming. And we found it very interesting. And none of us had anything to do with gaming or knew anything about it. But like I said before, immediately go gaming, snacking. There's something in this. And particularly the ways he described his passion was something that really drove us. And then we started to meet a couple of people in the gaming industry, and like you say, you start to see this thing getting bigger and bigger and seeing in front of you like that can be such a great opportunity for the brand. We talked with people from Twitch. We talked about esports. We talked with consolers in the industry. And every time we saw the phenomenal fit between our product that is very mess-free. So it keeps your hands actually very mess-free, and which is extremely important for a gamer who lives and breathes the gear that he or she games with. So you start to see this coming together, and I know where it started because I was right there in the room, but I don't even remember anymore how it became so big. But it did, and now it's one of the key pillars of the brand. We have many firsts in gaming, such as winning a place on an esport game. Now you can actually win a job as a gamer with Pringles. And we also had a video game character coming out of the screen in real time. So it has really evolved into something super innovative and a very big pillar for the brand.
Early on, I'm curious if there was resistance to this. This new idea, like you said, like where it started, and how cool that it wasn't like a research firm who started and said, here's where it's going. Like you actually organically saw passion for it, thought there might be something here, and then had the courage to kind of open your mouth and say, there's something here, I think. But those early days, did you run into resistance?
Yeah, twofold. One, for us as a team, the couple of things we wondered about is it diverse enough? Is it not a male thing? Pringles is a brand that brings people together. So is it not about people being very isolated? But we found out it's almost 50-50 men, women. And we found out actually a lot of people virtually connect. So gaming was actually a perfect connector. That was within our team. So that was quite quick to overcome. What was a little bit harder was to convince senior leaders in the organization to shift fundings, because senior leaders in our organization are in general, let's say 40, 45 plus, don't have a lot of time for gaming themselves, do see usually their own kids game a lot, but it was hard to convince them to say this is a big thing. And a couple of things that helped us a lot was very funny. I could just, first of all, we explained this to them as the new backyard. Remember the backyard, Ryan, you and I grew up, we were playing all day long and my mom could never get me in. Gaming is now the backyard. Your kids are gaming, everybody's gaming, and you can't come to dinner because you're still in your game. And then equally, convincing them with numbers, of course, is critical. So gaming is bigger than the music and the movies industry combined. And none of us hesitate to invest in that, or none of us hesitate to say movies are big, music is big. This is bigger than those two combined. That was compelling. But what drove the most was that I showed a video of an esport event and a lot of people together watching other gamers game. And that was a 3-minute video. And the emotion, the togetherness, all these people sitting in an arena, watching others game, and the suspense that it drove, that really was very compelling because everybody could all of a sudden see how captivating this was for our audience. So, yeah.
What I love about it is it's funny because you might as well have just said, oh, I'm leadership, 46-year-old man. How do you convince me that this is a viable space, that it's on brand, it's on strategy? And I wonder, I find so much of my time now is marketing inside organizations to unlock belief, unlock future inventions or innovations. And that's what this sounded like. You almost had to market the space on the inside first. One of my favorite quotes is German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer. And he said, all truth passes through 3 phases. First, it's ridiculed. Second, it's wildly opposed. Third, it's deemed self-evident.
Yes.
Where's the party part? Where do we get to celebrate this idea? So I also have to imagine that, I'd love to hear when the journey into e-games started, because coronavirus probably just 10x gaming as we're all stuck at home. So were you seeing that too? Just gaming just becoming even more of a rocket ship because of Corona?
I would say it was already huge before Corona, but it did increase during Corona for sure. So that also helped. We are in a very important territory. But a lot of things changed during Corona. And I think it's then also, how do you as a business adapt to that? And how do you get into the space where your consumers are? Such as, we always used to do aperitivo. It's a big thing in Europe where before you go to dinner, you have drinks with snacks and bites. It's absolutely lovely. And that was a big thing always here. But during Corona, that became virtual aperitivo, virtual get together. And we did a lot of fun things with that as well to make sure that we continue to enable people to meet, even though it would then be virtually and enable that through Pringles was something that we had a lot of fun with in a difficult time.
Yeah, it's still a difficult time. It's kind of a wonky time right now. I'd love to, how are you doing? How have you been? I mean, you're trying to navigate 10 countries in your job, but how has the pandemic been for you, and how's your team?
Listen, it has been hard for me and for my team, like it has been for everybody. I found it personally particularly very difficult to all of a sudden combine a family that was at home full time with a demanding job, because normally that is something that goes very easy. The kids are at school, I focus on work, everybody, and my husband focuses on work, everybody happy. And all of a sudden we were all in this house. And I've never felt so split in my life between different responsibility. And I'm not even going to complain too much about that, because I still had a nanny. And I know a lot of people had to do that without that luxury. So, but even with that, it was very challenging. The team, the same, right? I felt it was particularly very difficult because everybody had their own individual difficulties. So when I looked at my team, there were a lot of people with very young kids, even more difficult. When you have kids 2 and 4 years old, they can't sit by themselves. At least mine can sit by themselves. And again, I had a nanny. But when you are trying to manage kids of 2 and 4 years old who can't really independently work and who need to be monitored all the time, and you have a full-time job, it's very, very challenging. But equally, we had a lot of people in the team who live alone. And just being alone abroad in COVID times when borders are closed is very, very demanding on the mind. Or where there are no planes. When you were, for example, located in Dublin and there were no planes, it was also very, very difficult. So, yeah, trying to help the team navigate through that, trying to make sure they felt safe, trying to make sure we adapted workloads to accompany people on their journeys and to be there for each other was something what we focused on really a lot.
I feel like the pandemic did make us more empathetic. I don't know if we were just go, meeting, room, plane, right? But do you feel, like you said, you want to be careful of this one. You want to be thoughtful of everybody has had a different pandemic experience, but what are the positives if you're in your mind like have come out of this? If there was 1 to 3 that you could sort of rattle off, what would they be in your mind?
I think the first is that we are now better equipped and more used to working from home. So Kellogg's have always been very flexible. I could always work from home. I never did. I think I did it 2 days in 4 years. So never. Even after the pandemic was done, we now all work much more from home. I have now much better IT setup for it. I'm used to it. I like it a lot. So I think really having that, what we call locate for your day. So you locate to what you need to do. If I'm in meetings all day long, I would actually just stay at home, because if I'm in meetings with international people all day long, why would I sit in an office? And I don't have to commute. And if I'm lucky, I can have lunch with the kids. So fantastic advantage. But when I have a lot of connectivity to do, meeting people, brainstorm together, I deliberately go to the office. And I think that is a very, very big advantage that we have. And I would say that the single biggest one. And the second is that I have seen a lot more of my kids. Yes, it were very challenging times, those 2 years particularly. But there were times where my kids were 6 and 8. They're now 10 and 8 years old, and there were times where it was really nice to be so close together. And we did an evening walk every evening to get out of the house, and those are also precious moments at the same time.
Yeah, I'm like nodding my head over here. I have a 9-year-old and an almost 7-year-old, and you almost don't even realize how much you are traveling. I'm like, oh man, like I'm supposed to be in the humanity business, and here I am as a robot, like zipping around on an airplane to all these different places. So I feel that for sure. So look, I would describe you as a power woman. Like you're a rock star, and I'm curious, as you've navigated the landscape of Kellogg's, did you have other female mentors that you ran into? Like, oh yeah, she's doing it right. Thank goodness I ran into her. And I have to say, I love David Lawler. I really do. Like, yeah. He's the president of Europe, and I know he always, in my few conversations with him, he's always like, Miranda, watch Miranda. So it doesn't have to be, right, just a female mentor. It could be a champion. But I'm just curious, like, who did you look to for you?
I think you call out a great example. My manager, Dave, who's president of Europe, is a fantastic ally. So I think, first of all, role models, are particularly allies, don't have to be of your gender, for example, or don't have to be like you. I think, on the contrary, I think allies can be coming from everywhere. And I've been very lucky because I had quite a lot of male allies over my Kellogg period. I got promoted twice out of 2 maternity leaves. Both by men, and I don't hear that often, so I feel already that's something very big. And then Dave really got me into this position, which was not a super obvious one for me to get into, and supported me very, very strongly to make sure I landed the job successfully, and is a very important ally on diversity. But when I look at female role models, to be honest, it's the reason why I'm so visible myself, because I missed that a lot a few years back when I started to become a director. I really noticed I was often one of the 1, 2, 3 women in the room with 10 to 20 men. So it was very easy at the toilets. I never had to wait during breaks, which as a woman is a big thing. But that was about the only advantage of it. So what I did though, Ryan, and I think that's the beauty of it. When you are so few, you look after each other, and I've been very lucky because sometimes there's this competition that I read about in the press, but I've never experienced myself. I always felt those women would keep an eye on me. I could ask them questions. We would have a lot in common of the guilt we would feel or the comments we would get from society, and immediately that created a bond. When I was a relatively junior marketeer, I had a dinner with the CEO of the company and Chris Bonner, who is our comms lead for the company, and I sat next to her, and immediately we had a huge difference in level between us, but we both had a family, and we were both women in a relatively male-dominated society, so we had an instant connection, and I felt also very empowered to ask her for tips, to ask her how is she doing it. She asked me, she gave me great advice. And that kept me going for the months after, honestly. So my advice is always just bond and ask. And then when you are in a certain position, ensure you lift others as well with you. And make sure that I always try to be the role model I had too little of, let's say.
Yeah, you're very intentional with the way you go about, right, being you. It's not anything, it's all good, right? It's not like, but like you said, you kind of step out of yourself and look around and realize, oh, wait, I need to be the role model. And I think you have been intentional in that space. And I'd say you're a champion of equity and equality over there. Are you seeing the needle move over there? Are you seeing shifts now?
Yeah, definitely. When I look at our European leadership team, just as an example, we were about 20% women a couple of years ago, and now we are 44. If we exclude Dave, we are 50-50. And even if I look at the senior leaders in our organization, we used to have 44% of women in senior roles, and now we are 5 points up. So we start to be very close to 50-50. We are just almost there. And so you see really by measuring, you start to see the shifts. And I'm a big member of Lead Network, which is an organization for FMCG and retail in ensuring gender diversity in senior leadership roles. So an external organization. They're doing great work in this space. And you also see there, when they look at big groups of companies, that the needle does get shifted. So that is absolutely fantastic. And I often see actually a lot of people want to be part of that movement. A lot of men want to be allies. I see a lot of fantastic work there in allyship as well. And women are lifting up as well. So I think this is something that starts to create a big momentum behind.
Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense. And I just wonder if this is the sort of same, and again, hey, white male, right? Like was I a robot walking through life? And when I'm next to another 10 other white men walking through life, it's not even on my radar. And now clearly it is. I do think, going back to courageous ideas, that ideas get better when you have a collision of multiple points of views looking at something. And when you can keep the conversation healthy, usually what rises are the best ideas. Is that how you see this too, or am I missing something?
No, 100%. And there's a lot of data to support that. And just to be clear, we're talking a lot about gender now, but I find the same with ethnicity. I find the same with sexual orientation, with religion, way of thinking. It goes really, age is a very important one as well. The more diverse teams are, the by far you exceed creativity of the lesser diverse team. And then, of course, there needs to be listening, because you can be as diverse as you want. If you don't listen and ensure people feel the sense of belonging, so they can be really themselves in the conversation and people listen to them, it's very, very important. And Ryan, I also want to stress, because sometimes men get a bit apologetic. We can hear it from you as well, like, I'm just a wild man. I mean, we need white men as well in organizations for that diversity. Because, for example, one point in time, I was heading on a team where we had 90% women. And that's not what we should strive for. Sometimes man says, where's the space for me? But I'm really looking for 50-50. I'm not looking for, hey, let the women take over. In that case, where I had so many women on the team, I really actively recruited for men and really made sure that we had also there a very diverse slate when we were interviewing. So it does go all ways, let's say.
All right, this might be a little bit out of right field here, but give me one project you're working on right now, and it can be behind the scenes, it could be front and center for Kellogg's, that you would say it's a little terrifying in the most courageous sort of way.
Can I say, stepping into the role that I'm doing now, because I'm relatively new in this role, because I've never been a general manager, let alone then being a general manager of a region. So I have a lot of general managers actually reporting into me. And that was really scary and out of my comfort zone. So this was something, and I've done actually more scary moves in the past. And what I found really enabling me this time was that I dared to say to people, I find this pretty scary for that and that reason, because on that and that reason I have a gap. And I have not tried to, bullishly say, I am a great this, or I am a great that. I do know that, you guys just haven't seen it. But really liberating to say, where I have my gaps is this, and that. But then also I try to be very honest with myself to say, I do understand why Dave put me in that role. I do also understand what I can bring to this team. So I try to be honest about that too, and say, listen, this and this is where I need your help. At the same time, this is where I think I have a very important role to play and where I can help the team. And that was super liberating to help me get enrolled faster and feel also more courageous, actually, and better about myself.
It's so crazy. I've spent 3 years working on my book and listening to all these amazing leaders. But it wasn't until the podcast, I think I'm around 80 in now, which is crazy, that I sort of finally put it together that an act of courage is sadly nothing more than telling the truth.
Yeah.
And keeping it real and being like, I don't know this one. As a team, we're gonna figure this thing out. And I believe that the aha moment is, as the leader, we're all mirrors. So if you're like, I know everything, your team's gonna be like, well, I guess I can't share that. I must have come off like I know everything. And the minute you say, I don't know this one, we're going to figure it out, and you're vulnerable, it's a mirror to allow your team to be vulnerable. Are you feeling that too?
Yeah, 100%. I try to be, empathetic, vulnerable, open. At the same time, everybody knows also what we need to deliver. And I think this balance is really important. I was going to say, I know you're a big fan of Peloton. I'm a big fan of Peloton as well. And I've heard also your podcast, of course, with Ryan. And I actually did a meditation session with Kristen McGee today. And she was talking about courage. And she said it's to acknowledge the difficult feelings and move forward anyway. I love that as well, Ryan, because I think it's so true. Courage is about, it's going to be a bit hard and very uncomfortable, But you do it anyway because you know that is what will make you grow and get you to the next level. Only doing something difficult ever gets me to the next level. Just doing the thing. That's why I'm on your podcast as well. I was a bit scared for this, but I thought if I do this, I will feel better after. And I've learned something new, which is always great.
Yeah, I think being courageous, to your point, it does. You always feel, once you get through it and you get to the other side, there is like levels of liberation, right? And you're like, oh, cool, I did it, and I'll be ready for the next one, and the next one, and the next one. All right, take us home, Miranda. Like, just what are your, if you had sort of 3 big takeaways that you want for the listeners? It could be about you. It could be about Kellogg's. It could be about the way you challenge people to live their lives. Maybe one on each of the 3. I'm not going to tell you how to do this. You tell me, how do you want to take our listeners home?
Yeah, first of all, I'm going to use something that was an eye-opener for me. For those of you listening and thinking, is this diversity and inclusion still a thing? Do we still need this? I'm going to tell you, I come from a country where we have more CEOs called Peter than we have female CEOs. And this is a Western, very developed country. And when I post this on LinkedIn, a lot of my friends from other countries said, same for me, but the name of the CEOs is just different because it's the German most common name. In my case, it's the Dutch most common name. So yes, we still have a big journey ahead of it. Yes, it is important to focus on this. It's incredibly critical. The second one, because we talk about courage, I honestly, the biggest lesson in my life is do the scary thing. Every time I did the scary thing, I got so much out of it. And I got my confidence to a new level, my curriculum, and it has just been mind-blowing. And we are all scared all the time. I really make a habit out of, I have a note here. If it's scary, do it anyway. And I would just encourage you to do that. Start small. Sometimes it's small. Sometimes it's very big, but you do it. And let me see, because what else? It's a big thing to ask me what are the big 3 things I want to leave listeners with. I would say lift up. I lift up as you grow. And that can be growth in many different ways. It can be lifting people up in your street who have a challenge at home with childcare and you help them out. It can be you see a colleague who is down and you help this person out. It can be big things when you say, I lead a big organization and I'm going to make a change in this organization. I'm going to lift up the people in this team and I'm going to make a lasting difference. It is something I think you should be very intentional about, to leave your organization, your community in a better place and be very intentional about that.
So good, Miranda. Yeah, that was a on-the-spot question, so I love how you nailed that one. So many good things in here, and I know how I'm going to be leading off the episode, which is, if it's scary, do it anyway. Do the scary thing. And there's so much good that came from the conversation. Whenever we do get back to traveling, and if you do get over here, or I get over there, we got to get coffee. And I'd love to actually meet. It's so funny. It's like, these people, but we're still just stuck in these little boxes on Teams and Zoom. So have an absolute wonderful week, and thanks for joining us, and stay courageous.
Thanks a lot, Ryan, for keeping us all connected, even through COVID and beyond.
Take care, Miranda.
Bye-bye.